Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the Branded Podcast. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait for today's conversation.
I've been following you for a while now, and I'm obsessed with the breakdown reports you do with brand marketing. I always think you are so on the nose and you're so fucking reactive on how quickly you spin stuff out of this is why this worked and this is why that worked. So if you're in marketing, you have to follow Rachel if you're not already, because the way you break down campaigns is amazing. And of course, it gets unbelievable reach, which is one of the reasons why we're sitting here today, because I came across you because you came up on my feed on LinkedIn. So I want to start, I guess, right back at the beginning. You'd have to be living under a rock, particularly if you work in marketing, not to know who you are. You founded a business in lockdown, and by your own admission, never meant for it to be a business. It was a passion project. So I guess, how did you get here? Talk us through B marketing and everything in between.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to work in marketing since I was quite young. I loved finding out why brands marketed to their consumers. So I studied and I got into university, and then I graduated, and my dream was to work for a big corporate company in marketing, move to London, and then move to New York, where advertising, as you know, is everywhere. And I got a job. I got an interview at Coca-Cola in London, and the interview was in January 2020. I was overqualified for one role, underqualified for another role, so they created a new role for me if I could move to London within a set time frame. So I was like, absolutely, leave my job. I'm going. This is my dream
brand,
dream brand. Literally love them. And it was about maybe 6 weeks in, and I got an email, and they had basically said to me, due to lockdown, we're having to pause recruitment, and it wasn't able to be continued. And I genuinely thought, that is heartbreaking, because, you know, all your eyes are set on this brand, and that was my career. That was the start of my career. So we're in lockdown now, and I was a fresh graduate, ambitious, eager, and driven. And I kind of was like, what can I do? And I think it was a curiosity in me that was like, what are marketers doing if we're in lockdown? How are brands connecting with consumers if we're in lockdown? And there was, this one global campaign. I don't know if you've seen it, but for example, Starbucks logo, they had a mask over their logo. Another one like Burger King, or they had instead of their logo, they had there was a part which said home, and it was just to basically encourage their consumers. And I thought, that's amazing, that's really cool. And this was my first ever LinkedIn post talking about that. And I don't know why I kind of posted on LinkedIn, because back in 2020, it was very corporate. If you look back on that post, it was stiff. There was no personality. It was very not how I would speak today. And I spoke to my parents about it, and they were like, oh yeah, that's cool. I thought, I need to talk to other people. And during that time, everybody had home accounts, they had bakery accounts, I loved Mrs. Hinch. And I thought, where's the marketing accounts? And I knew there was some, but there was this friction of me being a follower and the kind of personality behind the brand and marketing account. So that's when I came up with Because of Marketing, and I started to share my favorite marketing campaigns, and it just started to grow on Instagram, and it was just very, very natural. I was also wanting to document me as a marketing graduate with the hope that it would attract an employer to then get a marketing job. And I worked for a friend just to gain experience in social media. And then I got asked to move to Dubai to become a marketing and PR executive. And this was my first marketing job. I'd moved to Dubai, and I loved working there, and I was still doing Because of Marketing on the side. So I would get up, work on Because of Marketing.
So is this still just a passion project at this time?
Still a passion project. I think for the first 2 years, Because of Marketing made no money. It was just pure love and passion for marketing and campaigns. And if brands reached out to me, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'll share it. It was anything to help people and to update them. And yeah, it wasn't until I was in Dubai for 6 months, and I thought it didn't work out for me. And so I then came home, and I started to go all in on Because of Marketing, and we're almost at 300,000 followers. We've partnered with brands such as SEMrush, Meta, Adobe, and it's amazing because now marketing directors personally reach out to me on LinkedIn or email, and they're asking like, we've got this marketing campaign coming up, would you like to share it on Because of Marketing? So yeah, really proud of where the brand's been, but it started off as a hobby and a passion, and it's now turned into a business.
Do you think you'd be where you are if you hadn't injected your personality into the content you were sharing?
I think, yeah, I don't think Because of Marketing would be. Because of Marketing is where it's at, because I think it's my personality as well. And I think building my personal brand on LinkedIn and also building Because of Marketing, it goes hand in hand, because I am a marketer as well. So it's great to kind of have people follow me, and that's like they're getting to Because of Marketing, or they follow Because of Marketing and they learn about me.
It's funny because I think a lot of people would look at some of the stuff that you post, and it's so simple, but it's so interesting, and think like, gosh, I wish I could have the confidence to do that. Like, you were really young when you, like, I'm saying this like I'm 100 years old, but like that takes a big set of balls to be fresh out of university and be like, I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn, particularly at the time when it was so corporate. Like, where did you even get the idea to do that?
Yeah, I actually do not know. I think what I thought was the potential people that I would want to be seen from were LinkedIn. It wasn't Instagram or it wasn't YouTube or kind of Twitter. I kind of thought if I was going to meet anybody or be attracted to anybody to have them on their marketing team, it would be LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where I think I posted about 3 lines. I think it got about 4 likes. But I mean, I think when you're so passionate about something, it overtakes your confidence, and I think you're just like, you know, I love what I do and I'm going to share that. So that was kind of the journey of starting posting on LinkedIn. But yeah, it was good.
How did you feel about like documenting stuff? For example, you know, when you're a student or you've just graduated, like you're not an expert at that point. And I feel like that really is like an obstacle that a lot of people have when they're trying to build like a personal brand, or like they're trying to build a career. It's like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. Like, how did you overcome that? Did you have feelings like that at all?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for a good couple of years, I think just recently, maybe in the past year or kind of 18 months, I've started to be more confident to be able to say, you know, this is how this brand got this is how this got this. But there's no way I could have just fresh out of uni kind of had the confidence to say that. I think it's been a case of, you know, trial and error and building up my own experience, because as much as, you know, I'm the founder of Because of Marketing, I'm also trying to become a better marketer and educate myself as well. And that's why I love seeing these campaigns and finding out how did that work or how did that not work. And it's a great with sharing it on Because of Marketing, because I can see the response, I can see what post did well, and that then I feel makes me kind of become better knowledge that this is why that marketing campaign did well.
Do you know what's so funny? I always say this to everyone, like, if you want to become really good at anything, you need to do it.
100%.
So like, for example, personal branding, right? Like I am not where I am in terms of running the agency without having built my own personal brand. And I also feel like I don't do tactical stuff anymore. Like, I'm not writing content for clients. I'm not creating content for clients. I have a fucking amazing team some of who are in this room who do that for, you know, for the company. But I'm really good at strategy, and that's because I've done it. And I think there is a real skill that needs to be developed in everyone around writing and knowing how to influence and knowing how to reach a particular type of person and be able to convey your point in a really articulate way. And I think posting actually content solves a lot of those problems. I don't know if you've found that as well.
No, 100%. I think it's when, even just in, like, for example, sport, if you've got a coach, they've played the game. You know what I mean? Like, they've already done the hard work, and they've got the knowledge, they've got the skills. Same with yourself with personal brand. Like, you have done it. You can't really coach someone if you've not done it yourself as well. And I think the way to do it and the way to get better at it is to do it. You know, you've got to write and it's a rubbish post, and then you learn from that post, then you do another one and it's improved. And it's that kind of concept I always go by, 1% better every day. And that is how you progress, and that is how you get better.
Even beyond posting content, like, I think everyone should be filming themselves every day or writing something every day. And even if they don't post it anywhere, like, if you write something every single day, I promise you by the end of the year you'll look back at how far you've come in being able to articulate your thoughts and articulate your point. And that is a skill that will take you anywhere. Think about dating, interviews, email writing, negotiations, like trying to get out of a contract. Like, all of these things require you to be able to articulate your point really, really well. And I think writing is the only way you can learn learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And for me, like LinkedIn has been fucking life-changing because of that. Like it gave me that platform. It gave me the space to be able to do that and to learn. And I love what you said about like learning what works well and what doesn't work well, and like, you know, that makes you a better marketer because you're seeing what's performing and what's not performing. And I think a lot of people look at not just personal branding but branding generally and go, oh well, we're not there yet, so like we can't do that. And it's like, actually the goal is not the outcome. The goal has to be what you do to get to that outcome. It's the action that you take. And if you're not taking those actions, you're never going to fucking get that goal, which might be launch this massive brand or get 100,000 followers or get that job that which is why you started posting content in the first place, right?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think it's the journey is much more valuable and you're going to get a lot more from it than the end destination. 100%.
I mean, the destination's the same for all of us, right?
Yeah.
We will die.
Yeah. There's only like 2 days.
That is the goal, guys.
100%. Somebody said it, and I can't remember who, but there's only 2 days you're promised in life. The day you're born, the day you die. What you do between...
And also tax bill day, 3.
Yeah. What you do between the day you're born, the day you die is entirely up to you. But like you say, if you write every day, if you do something every day that is going to upskill yourself, you're going to upskill your life.
What are some of the things that you do to make sure that you are like I wanted to get into this later in the pod, but it's such a good segue. What are some of the things that you do to upskill yourself every day? Because that's a fucking scary concept, right? Like we all talk about, you need to be developing. What are your weaknesses? Work on those. Boom, 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 boom. We're all pummeled with all of this information. Sometimes it can be really difficult to know what those dial movers are. Yeah. Like for me, the dial movers are, I know the mindset I have to be in order to be able to learn. So that mindset might be, I have a cold shower every morning, I meditate every morning, I listen to a podcast. That's my ritual. Yeah. And I know that if I do those 3 things, I'm developing in some capacity. What are yours?
100%. I think definitely a cold shower. I think when you wake up, the first 5 minutes of when you wake up, I think really does determine the rest of your day. If you wake up and you're like, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that, your mind is then going really fast. But whenever I wake up, I'm always like, I'm really grateful for. And then I do journal. It's a 5-minute journal. And I think doing that...
Is that book?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Incredible. 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes when you reflect on the day as well. And it's always like, what are 3 things you're grateful for? And it really does make you sit in the moment and be like, I am grateful for a healthy body. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. And I think it just really makes you appreciate what you've got just now. And I think I've done that. I did that almost for 6 months and my mindset changed. I think getting up, I think because it made me stop and actually, first of all, reflect back. I had a 6-year illness, which changed me a lot when I was younger. And then I think just challenges and failures have also just made me kind of who I am today as well. I wouldn't be where I am or who I am if XYZ didn't happen as well. I think everything happens for a reason, and you never fail, you always learn something. And I think when you see these big successful people or sportsmen people or artists, they've got over so many failures, and that's how we see them today. And that's what I love about people. It's the inner self-development, and it's about, you know, the food you put in your body, the exposure you get to exercise or to sunlight, the self-development you do, like the reading you do or what you're reading or what you're watching. Everything like that determines, you know, you can say a lot about someone when you hear what books they're reading or what they're watching or what did you do at the weekend. And, you know, I just think, and that's what I love about meeting so many people and networking. I mean, the saying's true, your network's your net worth. And the people you hang around with as well. It's like you can just learn so much by being in the room or just doing that one post or that cold outreach or anything, I think can really determine who you're going to be in the next year.
You said something a minute ago, which I think is important to touch on, is that you had this illness when you were younger. Mm-hmm. Do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
What happened and how do you think that's shaped your adulthood?
So it was when my parents divorced. I then developed kind of a eating disorder, and I was exercising like crazy. It got really bad, and kind of over time, my stomach kind of blew up. It was swollen. It was massive. My whole body was kind of shutting down because everything inside just wasn't functioning. And this went on for a lot of years during high school. During high school, I had to move high school to go back a year to repeat education because I failed everything. And it wasn't until I was speaking to doctors, I was speaking to my local MP, and I think this is the part where I learned so much about discipline, and I learned so much about like failure and hard times. And it's like you v you, and you're the only person. Like, I'd speak to my dad about it, and he would have a normal day and my day would be so different. And that's when it's like, if you have to help yourself, you have to help you. You're the only person that can do it. And I was praying for a miracle, and the miracle actually happened, because one day I was off school. I said to my dad, I'm going to get better and I'm going to move to New York. And he was like, why don't you download the New York Times, this app? Because he's a journalist, and he was like, download this newspaper. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I downloaded it, and for some reason I went to the health section. And this article, it sounds ridiculous, but it's so true. This article came up, first article, tomorrow it wouldn't have been there. This was this day, some day in September, and it said gymnast big belly. And I thought, that stomach looks a lot like mine. I mean, I got asked if I was pregnant when I was in hospital, and I clicked on it and I read through it all, and I was like, this is what I've got. I 100% have this. I printed it out, booked a private appointment at the hospital, and I was like, this is what I've got. They dismissed me, and that's why I kept learning, like, never take no for an answer. Believe in yourself so much. And over about a year, I managed to get this doctor somewhere else in Scotland. She sat me down and she actually listened and she believed in me. And we ran the tests and she confirmed, like, I had part of what this girl in the article had. If I didn't read that article on that day, I do not know the life I would have then had. And this illness went on for 6 years. I then got better in the final year of high school, scraped to get into uni. And that was when my life changed and I started to study business and then marketing, and then the rest is history.
Do you think, I can relate to so much of your story, by the way. So I had, it's always from trauma these things happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you were saying your parents got divorced. Like, I had something happen when I was younger. And for me, my eating disorder was all about control.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't control what had happened in that situation, but I could control what was going in my body.
Yeah.
And I got very, very sick. Like, my period stopped, my hair fell out. Like, it was like, I was showing a picture to my life coach the other day, and he was like, oh my God, you would never believe that was you. Like, I didn't even look like me. Like, it was, I feel sad for her now.
Yeah.
And I call her her because we're not the same person. Like, I look back on those pictures and I feel really sad that, like, no one helped, but also that I didn't know how to help myself. Do you feel like your eating disorder was centered around that lack of control?
Yeah, I think in a way. I think when my parents divorced, I think there was a lot of, I also just didn't have confidence. And I think that was also, I lacked so much self-confidence. I think there's such a big transition from a primary school to high school. And when you're meeting all these new people as well, like, life doesn't build you up for that. You either kind of like, you're either just really confident, or it sometimes takes somebody a bit longer to build on that confidence. And I think for me, I was really quiet and really shy. So I think when I went to high school, I had my parents' divorce happening, a new high school, and I just think I was very, I don't really know, and exercise was the one thing. If I just kept on losing weight and not eating and just feeling like a bit better, it would help me. But obviously health's most important, and my health deteriorated.
Did you feel good enough as a child?
I had a really good childhood. I was a judo athlete and I loved sports. And like, my parents are amazing. Like, they're actually friends. They're amazing. So I mean, I loved birth till about 8, 9, and then 8, 9 till about 17, 18. I just, like, that was the most traumatic time of my life. And then I think in the past couple of years, I'm quite content with my life. And I feel I've changed so much from my early 20s to my late 20s.
What do you think was, aside from you reading that article, which I want to dig into, by the way, because I'm such a big, but like, I spoke to Katie Street about this a couple of weeks ago, about manifestation and how it gets dismissed so much because people are like, oh, that's woo-woo bullshit, like, whatever. And it's like, people don't understand how connected your thoughts are to reality. Like, your thoughts are reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the minute you can connect those two is when, like, fucking amazing things start happening. But I want to come back to, you know, you said there about sort of 8 to your early 20s really being like really quite heavily traumatic. Aside from reading that article, like how do you pull yourself out from that? Because there are going to be a lot of fucking people listening to this who can relate to your story. For sure. We all have a version, right? I always say to people, everyone has a version of bulimia. Like I had bulimia, but everyone has a version of that. And it's just, and it might not happen at the same point in their life, but there is always a version of that in someone's life. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something that has fucked them up, right? You know, it's not necessarily about parents, but there's a poem that I absolutely love by Philip Larkin called it starts off saying they fuck you up, your mum and dad, they don't mean to, but they do. And I always love that poem because it's not necessarily about your parents or my parents or anyone else's parents, but like life fucks you up. And it doesn't mean to, but it does. And it's the way that you respond to life that actually determines your quality of it. How did you pull yourself out of what I can only imagine was a terribly painful, dark place?
I think I'd say probably a couple of things. One thing, have one person believe in you, and that's all you need. You know, I think.
And who was that person for you?
100% my dad. My dad literally, he believed in me so much. He's a lot older. There's 5 decades of a difference, and he was researching. I was researching, and it was one thing that I always believed. Have one person believe in you, and that's enough for you to believe in yourself, and then to get someone else to believe in you. Always my dad. And I did so much research to understand myself and to understand my body as well. Like when I was 15, 16, my friends were stressing out about the outfit they were going to pick for their night out. I was stressing about like parts of your stomach, and it was just such crazy
You weren't waiting to be saved.
No, you had to save yourself. Like at the end of the day, it's literally you v you if you want to survive in this world. Like literally, especially if you have an illness or, you know, a disorder or trauma, like it is you to get yourself out of there. And that's where the mental kind of mentality comes in. I listened to a lot of, not podcasts at the time, it was more so YouTube.
I love YouTube.
I love YouTube.
My favorite channel at the minute. I spend like if you looked at my feed on YouTube, you'd be very judgmental. It's like Paw Patrol, Bluey, and then it'll be like feminine energy principles and how to get rich by Alex Hormozi.
I listened to him this morning. I love him. I think it was kind of like, I think a lot of business and sport ties in really well. So I used to listen to a lot of kind of like motivational, and Les Brown, I love him. And I listened to a lot of these people. So I was like 15, 16, and I listened to a lot of these people talking. And I think that's what made me, listening to other people kind of get through shit, made me realize I am going to get through this. I don't know when and I don't know how, but I am going to get through this. And this was like 15-year-old Rachel mentality. And I think that has stuck with me through a lot of other kind of challenges and traumas that have happened as well. And yeah, just kind of going back to like manifestation. I didn't know what that was back at 15. I love it now. I follow Roxy. I think you've probably heard of Roxy.
Roxy Nafusi,
yeah. I love her.
I actually bought, I'm such a big, my love language is gifts, right?
Yeah.
And it's I love giving people stuff that I think is going to benefit them. And I do think really deeply about these things. And my friend was going through a really rough time, and I sent her Manifest by Roxy Nafusi. And she's on holiday at the minute. She's fucked off to Thailand for a month. Like as I told her to, I was like, you need to get out of this country.
Absolutely.
And she's on a beach somewhere reading Manifest, and she was like, oh my God. Like
changes your life.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think, obviously back then I didn't really know that's what Manifest was, but again it kind of goes back to that self, like I am going to get better, and it's that telling yourself you're going to do something, and then, you know, everything just kind of like the miracle happened. It was on that day, and that's the part my dad and I always discuss. If I never said that day, I'm going to go to New York. I've still never been, but I'm going to go to New York.
It's going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Make that shit happen.
Yeah.
I'm manifesting it for you, Rachel.
And if my dad didn't say that, I wouldn't have then downloaded that app, seen that article, and it was actually like so the article's called Think Like a Doctor, and it basically was this doctor who had already kind of completed this diagnosis, but they were basically like educating, what did you think this was? So I got the second part of it, and it wasn't until I researched the first part and we had this gymnast's story. To this day, I don't know who this female is. I have tried to contact and try to find her. I contacted the doctor at the Mayo Clinic in New York, and I was like, this article, like, I need to speak to this doctor right now. And they, obviously, I just think it didn't really get anywhere further. But the doctor, she had a book out, and I bought that book and I read that book and I highlighted everything. And it was kind of almost like I gave myself the self-diagnosis. Doctors don't like to be told that you've come in and you've told them what you've got. And I learned that very, very young, and respect to them. But I think nobody knows your body or your mind like what you do. And it's like that way where anybody says no, you're in the wrong room. Like, keep on fighting and keep on serving yourself, because at the end of the day, you can only save yourself in this life.
The irony is not lost on me that the thing that pulled you out of the darkest place was an explainer piece of content, and now that's what you do for a living.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Like, you dissect and diagnose activations and brand campaigns, and you tell people how they got to that conclusion.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm speechless. I did not think about that. Yeah.
There are probably a lot of people who are young marketers who have read the stuff that you've put out and been inspired to then go and do their own stuff. Have you ever thought about that?
People have told me, I've had a few messages and emails of some students that were like, I was studying biology and you've made me change to marketing. And I'm like, that's a big career change, but it's incredible. And, you know, because of marketing gets cited from universities, lecturers, professors, students cite it in their dissertation. And, you know, they're like, you know, Rachael, Higgins, 2023. And I was like, I'm not an academic, but it is.
Why do you think you're not an academic?
I kind of feel you have to go through that process.
Why?
I don't know. I kind of feel when I was at university, I never really cited somebody posting content on LinkedIn. I always just thought it was somebody that's released all these articles and books and, you know, kind of build up that credibility. So I've never really thought somebody could really, a professor would give them a tick for citing myself.
Why?
I just think, you know, I think what I write is good, but I think, again, kind of going back to, you know, I'm not a professor, or I've got a degree, but I've not got like teaching other students. I think that's what pulls me back from actually doing something like a workshop or teaching students.
I actually think you're teaching people more than professors do. Like, I look at your content and I'm like, wow, this woman knows what the fuck she's talking about. Like, you know, our marketing manager, Danielle, like, she did one term on social media. That was it, in her whole marketing degree. I would say you're at the forefront, which actually is more powerful than being a professor. No, and again, this is not apples, it's apples and pears. Like, I'm not saying that being a professor or being a lecturer or whatever is not good enough. Like, they're fucking amazing at what they do, and the theory and the strategy piece is really important. But they're not on the pulse, on the nose, in the meetings with Adobe, in the meetings with Meta, in the meetings with all the amazing brands that you're working with, having these discussions in real time. You're bringing people into that room who haven't got, you know, the credibility to be there yet. And you're educating them on what those conversations look like, which means that when they graduate, even if they have graduated, if they're second, third, fourth, fifth, as you said to me right at the beginning of this thing, CMO, director level, they know how to have those conversations. That's you doing that. Yeah. That's way more powerful than sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, that is very true.
I feel like I'm passionate about this. I'm like, you go do that workshop, Rachel. I'll come. I want to learn. Why do you think that you couldn't do that? Because I'm sitting here listening to you. I'm like, this woman needs to be on a stage. Like, where is the ticketed seat offering?
I think it does just come to confidence. I think it's just something that, you know, I think I've tried to work harder to increase confidence. I think I'm much better at writing than I am speaking. And I don't know. I think it is something that I am just currently working on. I mean, if I talk to somebody one-to-one, I could, chew your ear off talking about marketing, talking about strategy, brand, business, lifestyle. But I think to be on a stage, and I think it's when you have all these eyes at you, and I think it's kind of that way of like, if I fuck up, what happens? And I think
what would happen if you fucked up?
Just keep going. And I think it's telling myself that's what's going to happen. Is the reason why. I don't know. I've done a few speaking events, and they've been good. My first ever one, I dropped the notes, I dropped the mic, and the second one I thought, right, I can't have three things in my hands. And so I think every time something happens, the next thing, it's always an improvement. And yeah, I think that's what I just need to continue doing.
Do you know what's so funny? Like, the main message I get from people is, how did you get so confident?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's thank you for being honest. And then it's, how did you get so confident? And I like it, the old adage is true. Like, confidence isn't created, it's earned. Like, and to earn it, you have to smash your head against that brick wall until that brick wall breaks. Like, I will never forget the first speaking gig I did. If you can imagine, it was at LinkedIn. It was at LinkedIn HQ, and it was in 2018. And I was so nervous. I thought I was going to die. There was like 150 like CMOs and CROs and CEOs in the room. And it was a panel. And I didn't even talk that much, but like, I forgot everything that I was going to say. I didn't make my point properly. I was sweating. And I remember, even now thinking back to that, I was like, oh my God, it was so bad. But now I talk in front of 3,000 people, no problem.
Yeah.
And I still get nervous, and I still, fumble my words sometimes. But the difference is now I know that no one's going to die if I do.
Yeah.
And that is confidence. Confidence to me is not getting it right. It's being okay if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I think you're a testament to the fact that, everything that we've spoken about up until this point in this podcast is like all the things that have gone wrong, but like, look where the fuck you are. Like, you would not be here had all of those things not happened.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
No, I completely agree. 100%. I think it is definitely confidence. It's like, it's built upon, and it's something that I am still working on. So the workshops will come.
I love that. So let's talk about brand marketing, because that is what you do. Because of marketing is all about brand activations and all that kind of stuff. Where did, I guess, the interest in particularly that type of thing come from? Like, you mentioned in lockdown, you saw the Burger King logo and, the Starbucks logo, which I remember so well. And I think one of the things that I took away from both of those things was like the humanization of it. And like, me, like, I'm personal brand. My whole thing is like humanize brands. Like, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit whether you're B2B or B2C or consumers or not. You're selling to a person. Like, even if that's a person in a business making a business decision, it's a human being who's creating that credit card payment or like whatever it might be. So how did you land there? How did you land brand marketing?
I think kind of like when it goes back to university, and it's funny because at the time at uni, I never thought this is what because of marketing should be. But when I was at university, trying to find examples of things that were happening to back up what my thesis was or what I was trying to say was so damn difficult. And it took hours and hours and hours of research. So I think when I started because of marketing, it was more so solving a problem that I actually had during university. I just didn't know it kind of at that time. And it was kind of, what examples in marketing or what examples were brands given that could back up my argument for what I was trying to say. So when I started because of marketing, I mean, I was taking pictures of bus shelter adverts, packaging, like I was so going back to confidence. I would sometimes get my friend to take a picture and I would stand there and be like, take it now, like this angle. Because I was so shy of like someone walking past and being like, what's she doing taking a picture of a bus shelter ad? But now I have grown the confidence. But I think kind of then it was always just kind of like given the examples. And then I just love to then be like, right, so how did that company or that brand get that idea? And then that's when I would then look further into it. I mean, McDonald's is an incredible example, Coca-Cola as well. Like, and I just love seeing these brands do really cool stuff and then sharing that through because of marketing. And then, when I work with clients or even when I do some like kind of ideas myself and I share them on TikTok, it's always kind of like, what would be shared on because of marketing? And that's kind of like how I think. So I think because of
Because you are your customer.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel when you start a business, it's difficult to start a business when you're not your own customer. So when I started Because of Marketing, I was my own customer. I was my own consumer and I was a marketer. So it's made it really easy to be like, what did I wish I had when I was at university? And having something like Because of Marketing, or having Because of Marketing, would have saved me so much time and effort, and just having all those examples from brands. And it's just such a important kind of open door that has been created for students to be inspired and to learn from it. As well. And it's even more incredible when I get emails from directors from, for example, like Gymshark or Gymbox or Bumble, and they're like, you know, we've got this amazing campaign, like would you like to share it? And I'm absolutely like 100%. And I just think building that network and learning about it, and that's why I started Creator Behind the Campaign as well, which is kind of like, it was a fun little series. I thought everybody would say no, and we've got about 20 guests later. And again, I think it was just solving that problem of, how do you create a campaign? I wasn't taught any of this at university. How do you create a campaign? What are the KPIs? What are the objectives? And interviewing these people who have created these campaigns, first of all, shines a light on them. So hopefully the exposure helps them in their career. And also kind of secondly, helps the audience of Because of Marketing to then understand that's how Gymshark's billboard, that was the idea that produced that. So yeah, I think it's kind of like helping both businesses and helping the consumers as well.
What's been your favourite campaign of the last 6 months?
6 months? Oh wow, I thought you were going to
Or
say
recently.
Recently. Okay, I think, well, this year I absolutely love Cadbury's celebrating their 200 years of legacy. Love Road's branding team are just killing it at the moment. The
lip gloss phone case was unreal.
Yeah.
And did you see their Coachella stuff?
Yes.
So good.
Love Coachella's marketing. I actually think that Coachella was massive for being a music festival, and I remember back in the day it was all about the outfits. Honestly, I think this year has kind of been the stamp for where we're going to see Coachella's brand activations in the next 5 to 10 years, because like you say, humanization. And I think we can see that with Rode, we can see that with Kendall Jenner's brand 818, Pinterest. It was Pinterest's first brand activation at Coachella, and to be like an online app, to bring that in real life and to just reach this new audience, I think we're definitely going to be seeing a change with brand activations at these lifestyle events.
Do you think 2024 events is the thing? Because I have this theory that like we have this like this COVID hangover, right? Of like everyone's still online and like no one wants to pick up the phone. And like, it was so funny. I was talking to someone recently. I cut my teeth in recruitment, right? So it was like 100 calls a day, 10 before 10, meet clients, chest pump, And so I'm really confident in like going into meetings and pitching for stuff and calling people up and all this kind of thing, because it's all I know. It was like, back then we didn't have LinkedIn. We didn't have, you know, I remember we used to find candidates on fucking Facebook. Like, like if we couldn't get hold of them at work, which by the way, we used to do, we would call them at work and be like, hi, I'm a recruiter calling from such and such. Can you speak right now? And they'd be like, fuck no. And you'd be like, right, give me your mobile number and I'll call you after work. And you would keep hounding them until they gave you your mobile number. That's how it was done back then, right? Whereas now everything's done through social, which is a wonderful, because it means it opens up opportunity. But it also means that everyone's fucking scared and no one wants to pick up a phone and no one likes meeting in person. And I think COVID has accelerated that, because we were all locked in our own homes. Like, it gave us all a massive advantage, because it means that we could grow our LinkedIn. Like I popped off during COVID. You've popped up during COVID. Like everyone has built these incredible communities and these amazing audiences. But equally, we all have fucking social anxiety and no one wants to leave their house. And everyone is having relationships in apps and not in real life. And I think, I'm hoping, I'm praying, my prediction for 2024 is we're back in real life. Yeah. We're in real life. We're having these activations. We're going to live events. You're having your first live event this year. What are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more with you. I think over the past couple of years, obviously with everything with COVID, people have had that kind of scare to get back together. But I definitely think we saw it. I think the warm-up was 2023, and I 100% think in 2024 brands are trying to activate so much more to connect with their consumers on a deeper level.
You even see like Gymshark, right? They started opening retail stores.
Yeah.
Manier Devoir as well. All of these brands that started off as D2C brands are all opening in-person store. And it's so funny because I actually remember producing content for a then client it must have been 2021 around like the high street's dead.
Yeah.
Like high street's dead. No one's going to be shopping anymore. It's like actually changing consumer behavior is really fucking hard. Yeah. And even though you are locked at home and we all are shopping online, and yes, we all love Amazon delivery because it can come that night instead of having to wait 5 to 6 business days to get blah, 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 blah. People like to be in real life. Yeah. They are social creatures. It's why we are at the top of the food chain.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Like, for example, even Lounge, even just recently, they've opened up a new store in Birmingham, and then from their new store, they've then had this pop-up store around Valentine's Day, and I still think that was the best one. It was build a bouquet of lingerie, and for it to be an underwear brand, but to tie that in so cleverly with Valentine's Day, I mean, that is what I share on Because of Marketing. Like, that is creative, it was on brand, it was tied into a social event, like, it was absolutely brilliant. And I think so many more brands, like even myself for Because of Marketing, I'm kind of thinking it would be so cool to have some sort of brand activation, because I think anybody can do it. It just, you need that kind of creativity to make the noise, and to, why would you snap that on, like, why would you take a picture of that and share that on social media? And I think when you do go to these events, or if you go somewhere, it's always about like what leaflet with the branding can you take a picture of for social purposes. And even planning Because of Marketing's first event, it's like trying to make it so personalized and trying to make it so kind of like cool and collective. Like, that's the biggest takeaway that I want from Because of Marketing. Like, let's fill a room of communications, connections, creativity, and conversations. And yeah, I am incredibly excited to bring the audience who follow us online in real life and let them connect. And I think Because of Marketing's just the middleman between marketers and brands. And
you're the community.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think that's what I'm excited for. And I definitely agree with your prediction. I think this is the year of brand activations.
It's funny because you were saying about your in-person event and the word you used was connection. I think when we talk about community, everyone just assumes community is online community. And actually community can be with your neighbours, with your friends, with other marketers, with other people who enjoy the gym, with whatever. And when we look at the brands that are so successful, it's they've harnessed that. They're not talking at people, they're trying to influence people from within the communities that already exist. Gymshark's community, they are lifters, they are gym bunnies. They aren't trying to be a Gymshark community, they are gym community. Like your community as marketers, you're not trying to be like the Because of Marketing community. You are marketing and they are marketers, and so you're influencing from within. How do you think brands can do that, like B2B specifically? Because I think that's the hardest one to nail, is how can you harness that connectivity and the community within that premise and as a B2B business?
I think the most important thing is, like you say, humanization and bringing these people together, because I think B2B to connect online is really difficult. So I think kind of hosting events, like networking events where you both share like a common interest, I think is kind of the way to build that connection and to build that creativity as well.
And how do you get people to those events? Like, what's your strategy been with the live one that you're hosting in July?
So with Because of Marketing's event, to be honest, I was struggling to kind of, where do I start this? How do I do this? And it wasn't until a kind of friend of mine had said, like, I'll help you with trying to find a event location. And I think with Because of Marketing's event, it's like I was really specific because I really wanted to nail it. I really tried to find a kind of a brown building in London, and I tried to be really, because I think everything is brand, and every single touch point somebody receives with Because of Marketing, I want them to feel that from the beginning right through to the end. So I think it's kind of like being really specific, because I think if I went for example, a pink, really kind of wild, crazy location, it would be like, this is really not misaligned with Because of Marketing's brand. So I think kind of even for B2B brands, it's, for example, if you're like a high-end luxury brand, it's important for your location, it's important for your, like, the clientele or the people you're trying to like communicate to as well. And I think the most important thing is like your touch points, and you've got to kind of have that same message across every touch point as well.
Do you think it's really important that everyone within a business understands the brand and is part of that brand building exercise, or is it something that is dictated to?
No, I think it's important that everybody understands it, because I think if you come into a business and you don't understand the brand's vision, the brand's mission, like if, for example, if you were to stop somebody in a company and be like, what's X company's vision or mission, and you didn't know it, I think that's not a failure, but that's kind of like the leadership or the higher up team need to kind of have that conversation, because if you're not all rowing the same way, you're not going to be moving in the same direction. I think one brand in particular represent, everybody knows the mission, everybody knows the vision. Like even I feel like I'm part of the team because I know the mission and the vision. And it's kind of like we're all pushing together and we're all moving and rowing in the same way. So I think, 100%, I think it's really important that employees, stakeholders, partnerships, everybody knows what that brand is and what it's trying to achieve to move forward.
You're a solo founder, as am I. It's fucking lonely.
Yes.
Like when shit hits the fan and you've got to put on a smile to everyone because there's no one else to complain to about it, it can feel overwhelming. How have you found it, first of all?
Yeah, lonely is a very good word to say. I think you waking up, your problems, you've got them yourself. You're traveling, you're by yourself. You're working late by yourself. I think the most important thing is surrounding yourself with high level minded people on the same journey as you, but also people that are just one step in front of you. Not, somebody that's 10 steps
unattainably far,
somebody that's in front of you, so that you can be like, I want to get to where you are, and that they'll be like, we can help you do that. I think,
where do you find those people?
I think definitely through LinkedIn, but I think,
is that what you've done?
Yeah. The friends I have and the little circle that I've got, kind of outside of like the business circle I've got, has predominantly been through LinkedIn, or it's been through kind of meeting somebody at an event in real person. But I would definitely say on LinkedIn. And I think it's kind of like, that's one conversation can change your life, one post can change your life. And I think it's been that consistent being on LinkedIn and sticking true to your personal values. You attract the people that you are as well. So I would definitely say kind of posting on LinkedIn has helped me develop and grow this network that I've got. So whenever I'm having like a bad day or just not feeling it, it's like reaching out to them, and they can just share like, they've had that same day, or this is how you kind of get out of it as well. But I think building a business is going to be lonely, but that's also survival. Business is a game, and we're all competing to survive.
I always fucking say that. One of the reasons why I love running Clout is because it's a game. And I don't mean that from it's a childish thing. I mean that of like, I'm really good at personal branding, I think, I hope. But the reason why I love running a business is because it's the game of winning and like fucking up and failing and losing, and then we're going back out on the pitch and being like, cool, how can we iterate from last time? Like that to me is the exciting bit. And it's so funny because I think running your own business is so glamorized. Like everyone's like, don't work for the man, work for yourself. Like if you work for someone else, you're only lining someone else's pockets. Like the reality is most founders, including myself that I know, like struggle month to month, most months, because actually what they're doing is taking all the risk and usually eat last. And it's a long game for us, but we don't do it because money or whatever. We do it because we fucking love it. And I think there is so much value in working out what you love first and working for someone else. Like I was very, very fortunate to work for employers that like just kind of let me get on with it so that I could figure out what I loved to do so that I then could start a business in something that I loved doing rather than thought I could get paid lots of money to do. I just wanted to get paid doing something I loved. And then that love is then turned into hiring a team and building out a business and stuff. I don't know how many other people have started a business thinking that they just wanted to make more money and then found that actually the payment for making that extra money is not worth the sacrifice they have to make.
I think if you want to start a business to be rich or to make money, you're not going to be successful, because if you're just chasing money, you know, I think you lack a lot of purpose, because
Yeah.
you know, I come from a good background, not come from a very wealthy and financially, you know, healthy background, but I think when you build a business starting from zero, like there was no money injected into because of marketing. It was earning that first £100, earning that second £200, and like I said in the beginning of this podcast, like for the first 2 years, this was just me doing what I loved. On the side, before I moved to Dubai, I was selling sheds during lockdown. And I had a really good employer. He was my friend and he had his own business. And he said to me, as long as you're selling me sheds, like as long as you're making sales and selling me sheds, you can do it because of marketing. And, you know, I think having that employer that does understand where he knew selling sheds was not my life, but it was like during that time, during COVID, helping him, he actually helped me so much more. I saw the value of being a business owner, and I also just saw the kindness and also just trusting somebody else as well. So yeah, I mean, like building because of marketing, it's taken me years to kind of build it where I've got, but I started off doing it all through love, through passion, through purpose, and that is how because of marketing is where it is today. If I started it to be like, I want to, you know, make a 6-figure company, I wouldn't know where to start. My mindset would be completely different, because I don't chase money. I just chase dreams and purpose. And I think that is much more fulfilling than, you know, a big massive paycheck. That I like to work hard. That's why I would never do the lottery. If I ever won the lottery, I would donate it, because I like to work and I like to graft and grind, because what I earn back, I'm like, I earned that.
It's funny, there was a study done in the 70s that connected self-esteem with success, and therefore achievement with self-esteem, and so they gave everyone participation medals. What they didn't realize was actually the self-esteem didn't come from winning, it came from all the obstacles people had to overcome to win, and that's what gave them self-esteem, which is what made them successful. You said a minute ago it took you 2 years to build because of marketing. I think everyone launches a podcast, starts posting on LinkedIn, does it for 90 days, and then thinks that like they're just going to become an overnight success. The reality is I posted for a year before anyone gave a shit what I had to say. And I think there is so much online talking about get rich quick, 7-minute abs, blah, 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 blah. People don't understand actually the number one thing that is going to make the difference is discipline and time. You can't, everything that is on my vision board from 4 years ago I've achieved, but it's taken me 4 years to do it. You can't click your fingers, post a LinkedIn post for 5 days and decide that you're going to get, or think that you're going to get 100,000 followers. It doesn't work like that. It takes a million years to do this kind of stuff well. How did you approach that discipline that you needed to be able to get to where you are right now, working with Adobe, working with Meta?
I think it kind of like, as you were saying there, like in my mind, I was kind of thinking, even going back to the 6-year illness, that to me showed to me like you have to keep doing it, and then you'll get that overnight success. Then you'll get that kind of miracle, or then somebody will notice you. And that's all it takes. I think it's every day you've got to show up even when you don't want to.
How do you do that though? Because some people will be listening to this being like, it's easy for you to say Rachel, it's easy for you to say Amelia, because like you guys are sitting where you are.
I think kind of like for people like yourself and I, it's kind of like we are ordinary people, but it's a mindset. And I think it's discipline and training your mind to not give up, to change. Even if you changed your morning routine, it then sets out the rest of your day. Like, I think you really have to, there's kind of, it's like this way where you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you can't go around it, you just have to go through it. Like, if you're not feeling like it, like so many TikToks I've made, I have not wanted to do it. Like, I've cried before, slapped on makeup, done a TikTok, and it's performed really well. And that's why I think it's important to kind of have a bank of like, you know, moments like this where you can go back to, and again, having these people around you. Like, even for example, the Coachella post I wrote about like brand activations, my friend was like, you should post on LinkedIn, you've not posted in a while. Like, I was like, oh, I don't want to, and it was difficult, and I struggled to write this piece of content. And I posted it, it got over 200,000 impressions, and I got lots of people DMing me. If I hadn't posted that, that opportunity couldn't have come. And I think it's kind of that way where it's that way people kind of say, like, what if it goes wrong? And it's like, but what if it goes right? And I think it's adopting that mentality, but that comes with time. That comes with patience, and that comes with obstacles and overcoming fear as well. It's not, I mean, if you met me 4 years ago, different person to where I am now. And that is just down to patience, time, and overcoming everything that challenges you.
I am such a big believer that like the greatest way to get over fear of failure, which is what holds us all back, is to accept that you need to fail in order to win.
Yeah.
Like you have to. I have fucked up consistently every month, every hour, every week, minute, second, year for the last 33 years. And that is why I am where I am. And it's funny because I think we all think, you touched on something there, which I think is so poignant. And I really, really want people to understand what you're saying, which is, what if it goes wrong? Yeah, but what if it goes right?
Yeah.
Most of the things you're worrying about will not happen. And thoughts are really powerful things. And it wasn't until I started therapy, and it wasn't until I started having a life coach, that I kind of reframed my thoughts around risk and everything works out. And now, even when I go on a date, I'm like, I don't care what kind of thing that happens here. I don't care whether this person texts me back. I don't care whether it's a good date, it's a bad date, they're a nice person, they're not a nice person, because I know I'm going to meet my person. And so my challenge back to you, and to like, not necessarily you, but the collective you, is what would you do right now if you knew everything was going to work out?
Oh, I think if I knew everything was going to work out, I wouldn't probably put in half as much effort, because I think it's like you say, it's the game and it's the fun and it's the what if, you know, if you don't know what's going to come next, then I think that's why so many people that come from so many different backgrounds are successful, because nothing's given to them. Like, I've had nothing given to me from, you know, my family or friends, people. Like, everything I've achieved has been me putting in the work, putting in the hours. So I think if somebody told me, you know, this is what's going to happen, I would take a back seat. I don't think I would put in all the hard work had I known that wouldn't have happened. I think that's the journey of life. I think that's the fun of life, is, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. So that's why you have to put in the hard work, and you have to, you know, make that conversation or risk that certain thing to then see what actually turns out. I mean, I've failed lots of times. I've trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. I've done things, but hadn't I done that, I would not have then got on to the next thing or the next opportunity. Like, if I went and worked for Coca-Cola, there wouldn't be any because of marketing. And I always look...
No such thing as a missed opportunity.
No. And I have this theory of sliding doors. It was a film back in, I don't know, maybe the 80s or 90s. And it kind of was this thing where, like, this man was running up to the train and the door slid and he missed the train. And his whole life was changed, because had he went through that door, a different life. And I think that's the way you've kind of got to see it. And I think over the past year, I have definitely been a lot more relaxed with, it is what it is. You know, if that happens, that happens, you know. And I think there's always lessons to be learned in everything that happens, good and bad. You learn a lot more when you do fail, or when there's been more of a challenge, that when you do, when there's a success. More growth comes from a challenging time than it does from a successful time. But to get to that successful time, you have to go through those challenging times.
To make good decisions, you need experience. And to get experience, you need to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
I die by that phrase.
Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
like, let's make some bad decisions today, guys. Let's learn. I want to just quickly touch on, you know, the discipline thing, because you did 75 hard, which I'm props to you, babe. Like, not happening over here. Not because I don't think it's a wonderful idea. It's just like I just couldn't think of anything worse. But I do have a solid discipline of like what I'm doing. Like at the minute I'm on, you know, I wake up at 5 a.m. I meditate, I journal, I take MCT oil, I have my fatty coffee, I don't eat till 12, and it's like this weird little routine that I've got my caveman self into that like really helps me operate at unbelievably high level at the minute, and I'm so fucking focused. How? First of all, how did you find it? And why did you do it?
I think I was just looking for a mental challenge. I think I was just looking for what can I do to improve myself. I heard a lot of people doing it. I was following a few people, they had done it, and I was like kudos to them. Like they're showing up, they're consistent, they're doing this. And I think I just wanted to put myself through that pain to see what they were doing and why they were doing it. And it was kind of when you start day one, and the reason why I shared it on Instagram and I kind of documented it was because I was like, I don't want anyone to think I give up. So I had to do it every single day. And, you know, I think the first week you're like, oh yeah, I could do this. It's not until I got to day 50 I wanted to give up. And I had 25 days left. Like I was so difficult to eat around. I was a lunatic trying to do 2 pieces of training a day, read 10 pages at night, all before midnight. And I think for that, it restructured my mind a lot, because it was like, you have to prioritize like the importance of your health. Like it was definitely health in your body and health in your mind. And if you left it all to the last day, you know, you were trying to drink a gallon of water, you were trying to read 10 pages, you were trying to go out a 45-minute walk, and it made you really stressed and it didn't work. So I think it gave me the importance of habit and getting things done. And the business came second and 75 hard actually came first. And it helped the business so much more because I prioritized my health and because I did that. And that was a massive game changer for me, because I'm like every founder has done this, be up till 4 a.m, lots of coffee, forget to eat, or you overeat, so you either gain weight or you lose weight. And, you know, your mental health was just bad. And that's what I wanted to change. And then I had to sleep a minimum of kind of 7 hours. And everything like that helped my business, I did not expect that. So I think for me, it was the discipline, but the focus of habit, and that's what helped because of marketing.
Do you know, it's so fun. I'm so glad you brought that up, because so many people think that to run their own business, their business has to be their number one priority, but actually you need to be your number one priority. And that needs to be through exercise, it needs to be through reading, it needs to be through doing what you need to do in order to operate at a high level, because you have to give so much when you run a business, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team. You have to give 99% of yourself away. And then if you're building a personal brand online and you're growing in public, that's like add another fucking layer to that and open yourself up to criticism on a completely different level. You have to know who you are, you have to know what you stand for, and you have to know also what your boundaries are and what you need in your fuel tank to be able to operate at a fucking high level. There is a reason why people like Alex Hormozi, Elon Musk, you know, these people that we all admire and look up to and think, shit, I wish I could operate at that level. There's a reason why all of these people have a routine, and a lot of it doesn't include other people. They live for themselves. And that is selfish. That is self-indulgent, which I say, and everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be that. Why not? You are the only person that is going to be there for you unconditionally. You're the only person that's going to save you. You said that yourself, right?
100%.
If you don't look after you, how the fuck are you going to look after anyone else?
And I live by that. And I think, again, that has been brought on through experience, through challenges as well. But my boundaries, it's like, you have to respect yourself, because who's going to respect you if you don't respect yourself? So it's like, if someone hurts me, it's like cut off, because I can't, for my mental health, there's no point being around those people if they're not good for you. And that's why you've got to attract and speak to those people that are in your network as well. I think running a business, the number one thing is your health, and your health for your mental health and for your body as well. I mean, I've joined like a running group. I do it every Saturday. And at first I was like, oh my God, time away from the laptop. And it's like the endorphins I feel after a run or exposing yourself out for a walk, is incredible, and you're benefiting the business more than if you were to get up and straight away start working. But I think that is training, and that's what you have to train yourself to do, and it takes time. But once you get there, you're a much better person, and you are going to be a much better business owner as well.
What is next for you and Because of Marketing?
We have our first event in July, so I'm really, really excited for that. I think
I want to come. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Releasing the tickets soon, hopefully in May. And I think as well, like for myself, it's kind of just to continue growing myself and growing the business, and just trying to become the best Because of Marketing media brand globally as well, and help to inspire young marketers in the world, and just push out the creativity that all these amazing teams create.
If you could post anything, like I talk so much about just fucking post it. Like, it's kind of like my mantra. Like, what? Like, it's not that deep. Like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, so what if it gets no likes and one like and one of them's your nan? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I appreciate that's not everyone's mentality, and I'm only at that point because I've just posted loads of times and I have had no one like my content. But if there was one thing you could post, say, believe in, share without any fucking consequences, what would it be?
I think just to
if you could just fucking post it. Like if you could do, and I don't necessarily literally mean social media. I mean in any capacity. Like if you could just push yourself off a cliff, what would it be?
I think it would just be to chase your dream. Like whatever you have got and nothing is holding you back, just do it. Like I think just book the flight, or just book the piece of content that if nobody was watching you, or if nobody you could feel was going to judge you, I would just do it.
Do you think people should be worried about judgment?
No.
Why?
No. I think because the only person that's judging is yourself. You don't actually know what somebody is saying about your content. You're just thinking that's what they're saying. So I think you're the person that is judging yourself.
Rachel, thank you so much for being
so
on
much
Branded. This was such an amazing conversation. I could keep talking to you for ages. And congratulations on the live event. I hope you're going to be standing up on stage.
I will be. I will be on stage, hopefully with a panel, but I will be on stage.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I absolutely love doing these podcasts, and I would be able to reach a hell of a lot more people if you like and subscribe. So thank you to all of you who have already liked and subscribed. And if you haven't, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review so we can reach more people.